Okay, we're back. Mark Schindler, I want your thoughts on this quote from Dylan Brooks. Asked about his confrontation with LeBron James tonight, Dylan Brooks said, "I don't care. He's old." And then after a couple of other things, "I poke bears. I don't respect someone until he gives me 40." Thoughts, Mark?
I mean, shit, I'll have to lead next podcast with that towards you. But no, that was especially because I just finished season 1 of Yellow Jackets today, so that's all I could think about with the Bears. So that was an interesting juxtaposition for me. That was just the most Dylan Brooks thing that could have happened. He didn't even have a great game today. Like not to say that he was bad. Like he was very good defensively, but was in foul trouble, only played 22 minutes. I think he went 5 of 14 from the field and is talking cash shit like that after. Like, that's him. That was amazing, especially with LeBron calling him, and I quote, a motherfucking bum as they're going to timeout on a dead ball earlier this game. So I'm excited to see what the fireworks can be the rest of the series.
Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about with the Lakers is I want to start with the Grizzlies. I'm sorry. So incredible game from Xavier Tillman. I thought he was like actually probably the most important guy on the court for the Timberwolves. His ability to really consistently play tough on the glass and just to like physically, match up with AD and LeBron and just create problems for them on the interior and consistently rotate into the lane and just continue to crowd up the lane. I thought that was by far the most important part of this game. And I want to shout out Xavier Tillman, just an absolute one of my favorite draft prospects. If you remember, people who are longtime listeners of the show, I talked to Tillman on the podcast previously. One of my favorite people, just a really, really intelligent, high character, high intelligence dude that I buy into entirely. Shout out
very own. Yeah.
I was going to say, shout out Michigan State Spartan, Mark Schindler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's from Ohio. So yeah.
Across the board, man.
Just hits every box for me. I want to lead. I want to take that and parlay it into something else too. I am tired of seeing, and I saw that you tweeted about this. So that's why I want to bring it up too. But I'm so tired of seeing the Grizzlies are better without Ja, or is he really a winning player? Like this and that. Like,
yeah,
I actually thought part of what made this game work for the Grizzlies the way that it did was because of how the Lakers played them without Ja. Like I thought that not that
poorly, in my opinion.
Yeah, like not even that the Lakers were awful defensively, but I thought they were so keyed in to trying to stop Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane that, I mean, Tillman just like he had 22 points and they were all off of his own, making his own offense. Like he had 5 offensive rebounds. He was awesome as a cutter. Popped out the 3 a couple times and hit one. It was all just, we're not fucking guarding you. And he's like, okay, cool, I'm going to score. And like, I mean, to be honest, like I would have told you right away, like you can't leave Xavier Tillman open. He's one of the guys who, just like Jared Vanderbilt, like, and I think, obviously better is the wrong way to put it, but I think, he's somebody who I trust more to finish around the basket.
Yes, like, definitely.
That's the kind of stuff that's really hard to just let somebody do. And he was awesome at that. So I thought, like, to me, it's like, okay, I don't think they play it quite the same way if Ja's out there. Like they're going to be, it would just look very different that way. So I think it's not about, I mean, yes, it's because Ja didn't play, but also it's not because Ja's bad or something like that, or that he doesn't.
So yeah,
that's frustrating.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying. I don't think they're better without Ja Morant, like 100%. And I made sure to like caveat what I tweeted. I do think that Ja Morant's lack of presence there defensively made things a bit easier for the Grizzlies with their specific ideal defensive structure for this game. And a lot of what they did hinged on a very poor decision by Darvin Ham, in my opinion. Darvin Ham despite John Morant not playing in this game, still chose to start Jared Vanderbilt and then have Jared Vanderbilt guard Tyus Jones at the point of attack. I have no fucking idea why he did that. That was an incredibly poor decision, in my opinion. The whole reason why you want Vanderbilt out there is so that he can chase guys like John Morant, tire them out. Frankly, it would have made a lot more sense to me if you would have had him chase Desmond Bane around more. I know that Jared can sometimes be a little bit funky getting around off-ball screens, and I think that that's probably what Memphis's adjustment would have been in the second quarter. But it just did not make any sense to me to have Jared Vanderbilt on the court if he's going to be guarding Tyus Jones. Because the problem is that Jared Vanderbilt, for as much as I love his defensive ability and I love his energy and I love his rebounding, he is not somebody that helps your offensive spacing. And what the Grizzlies did is they just played off of him the entire time, had his man sink into the paint the entire first stint that he was out there in the first quarter and throughout his stints in the entire game, and just gummed up everything that the Lakers wanted to do. And I thought that was why the Grizzlies got out to such a positive start in this game. I thought that they would have been much better off starting somebody like, you start Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, obviously LeBron and Anthony Davis, and then you start Troy Brown or Malik Beasley instead of Jared Vanderbilt. The reason I don't say Rui Hachimura is because I think they like having Rui off the bench to be able to create some offense in second units. And I think that's a great role for Rui to find success in, especially against a Memphis team that is not going to start Luke Kennard. And Luke Kennard's presence out on the court, I think, particularly creates real incentives for Rui as a mismatch nightmare in second units. So I thought this was completely mismanaged by Darvin Ham from the jump in this game. And I think that is actually, look, the Lakers have played down to their competition the entire season. And, we can't put it all on Darvin Ham. Austin Reeves said it after the game that he thought the Grizzlies were quicker to the ball. They were more aggressive. They were more desperate to try and win this game. And I think that is true. But I also thought that structurally, in terms of lineups, we saw some of the things that drove me fucking crazy about Darvin Ham throughout this entire season.
Yeah, I think I'm not quite on board. Like, I get what you're saying, and I don't entirely disagree, but I think it's also tough. Like, you're going to start Malik Beasley and D'Angelo Russell together, or even with Troy. Like, Troy he's had the best 3-point shooting season of his career, but it's still like very fake. Like, he's not getting guarded like it. So
yeah,
I don't know. And I still thought I thought Jared was still really solid tonight. Like, obviously there are things that you miss with.
What about Dennis Schroeder?
Dennis was rough.
He was not great, but you have to guard him. And with starters, I feel like that's
I don't know,
a more valuable thing.
Well, I think because then my issue would just be, you already know what you have with Rui coming off the bench. Because I feel like playing Jared off the bench, you do have to. It's just it's different than what they've done. So it just kind of makes it a little bit, not murky's the wrong way, but I do think it changes up how they want to play too much. Granted, that probably would have been better tonight, but I don't know. It's like I kind of get it. I still just think like this game was a lot about like, oh hey, this roster still has a lot of flaws, believe it or not. Granted, like, you can't have that kind of night from D'Lo. Like, I thought 2 of 11 from the field was, I mean, that can't happen.
He had open shots too. Like, a lot of those were open looks.
Yeah, and the stuff with AD, like, I think, like, of course you can criticize his offense. He missed some shots that he shouldn't, but also it was all incredibly tough stuff. Like you mentioned, I thought Memphis was so good at crunching in on the paint, but also, like, and this is not to be unfair, but even given what his box score ended up being, I didn't think it was a very good LeBron game. I
thought he was not good at all. I agree with you.
Like, it was a lot of settling. Obviously took eight threes, and it, like, you always have to be cognizant of like, hey, you know, sometimes you just miss. But a lot of it felt like threes where he had opportunities to drive. He really did not drive much at all this game. And again, part of that is the spacing, but also there were opportunities too. It wasn't just
Yep.
a straight up, it's not there. And I thought that, I mean, that's what makes it so confounding because yes, on one hand, I get being critical of AD. You can't be 4 of 14, but also with the looks he was given and kind of forced into, that's what happens when nobody's driving to the basket. When you can't get anything easy going downhill, you get forced into those difficult things. And he was so good defensively tonight too. Like the defense from him was legitimately awesome. Was a big reason why the game was even close at halftime. So it's tough. Nothing was part of a recipe for success tonight for the Lakers.
Yeah, and this is where things get tricky for me with Anthony Davis in general. I thought that the biggest problem for AD was that it wasn't easy for the Lakers to generate him any sort of open opportunity. I saw a lot of people complaining about his lack of aggression. I think it was more about how Memphis was playing them because they played him and attached him to Jared Vanderbilt for large swaths of this game. It felt very difficult for him to get free at all. You know what I mean? Like it felt like it was very difficult for him to find any sort of real open opportunities where he wasn't collapsed down on. And he was outstanding defensively in this game. I think Anthony Davis remains, I know that the defensive player of the year in the league is on the other side of this court. I think in the playoffs, I would probably still take AD defensively over Jaren Jackson. That's no disrespect to Jaren. I think that AD is just probably, if you made me pick one guy that I had to start a playoff roster around defensively, I think it might be Anthony Davis at this point. Just the way that he protects the rim, his switchability, his help defense is always on point. His ability to rebound, particularly in end possessions, I think is always quite strong. He's just very well-rounded on that end with elite rim protection. He had 5 blocks in this game, and I thought he was outstanding in the way that the Lakers needed him to be defensively. It's just that this is why they need to find better offensive lineups, I think, for Anthony Davis. And like, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if Ja Morant misses next game if they do go a little bit smaller in their starting lineup, because Memphis doesn't really have a lot of recourse for you if you do that, in my opinion. Like, we're coming off of a game where Xavier Tillman had, 5 offensive rebounds and Jaren Jackson had 3 offensive rebounds. But this is not a big starting lineup. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't a starting lineup that is enormous where you have to worry about, LeBron and AD getting out muscled on the block and getting out anchored, especially when you have guys like Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell on the wings that are just as big as Memphis's wings. So if I was the Lakers, I think I would very strongly consider starting one of Troy Brown, Malik Beasley, Dennis Schroeder next game. If Ja Morant does not play, if Ja plays, I would just go back to Jared Vanderbilt and just let him annoy the shit out of Ja at the point of attack and frustrate him and use his length and everything. But yeah, I don't think this was entirely a coaching loss. I think it was about more than that. But I hated everything that happened from a coaching perspective in this game for the Lakers. And it was very annoying and frustrating for me to watch.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair.
The last thing I will note here are the Grizzlies better without Ja Morant bullshit. Despite the fact that I said all this, I think that the defense was much easier for them to accomplish tonight without Ja Morant. I think that probably lasts one game because the Lakers don't necessarily know what you're going to do without Ja Morant in that one game setting. Against your specific lineup. I love it. We have Mark. Mark's the one killing spiders now, not me in this country, despite the fact that it's typically me. I think that in general, that lasts one game. You get one game where Memphis doesn't know what you're going to do. or the Lakers don't necessarily know how you're going to do it. Now that's going to change. We're going to see another chess move. We're going to see another adjustment from the Lakers. And the Grizzlies are going to have to make another adjustment. Because look, at the end of the day, the Grizzlies offense was not good in this game. Like they shot 42% from the field, 30% from three. They turned it over 10 times. Desmond Bane had a lot on his plate. He turned it over 5 times. I thought Des was really valuable in this game. I know he had 18 shots and only had 17 points. But I just really strongly believe that the Grizzlies are going to need Ja Morant's offense in this series drastically, like incredibly, incredibly well, and incredibly importantly at some point in this series, because the Lakers are not going to go 7 for 26 from 3 every game in this series. It's just not going to happen. Like they shot 27% from 3 tonight, and those were on some open threes because Memphis was collapsing into the paint and really like trying to shrink things down and slow down the game. So that works once. It doesn't work the rest of the time. And I think that Memphis is really going to need Ja Morant to get back in this series.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah. Any other random adjustments that you see that could be forthcoming in this series?
It's a good question. I don't know if I have any other big adjustments that I could see in this one. Because like who else are the Grizzlies pulling off to come play in this game? Like I liked them going to Roddy tonight. I thought he gave them some good minutes. I don't expect them to do that as much with Ja back. Kennard was actually pretty good tonight, and I think that one of the adjustments is continuing to have him play like that because they need that for what he can just bring with his value as a spacer. But outside that, I don't really think that there's any big adjustments they can that like in personnel that they can make at least.
Yeah, with the Grizzlies, it will be interesting to see what they do because Luke Kennard shot the absolute hell out of the ball tonight. David Roddy, went 3 for 7 from 3 and made some really timely shots. But then you can look at it in the other end. Jaren Jackson went 1 for 3. Desmond Bane goes 1 for 6. I'm sorry, from 3. I do believe that most of the adjustments, I think the Lakers have many more adjustments in their toolbox than what Memphis does, because Memphis is working without 3 of their best players right now, Ja Morant, Brandon Clark, and certainly Steven Adams, to be able to create different lineup constructions to try and force the Lakers into different boxes. I thought the Lakers forced themselves into a box tonight and just need to stop doing that and making their life harder in terms of driving lanes, especially for LeBron James and Anthony Davis. If Ja Morant is out there, again, I would start Jared Vanderbilt. I think Jared Vanderbilt's a valuable player. I just don't think Jared is as valuable when there's nobody out there for him to guard in a one-on-one setting. And I thought that's actually why in the third quarter, they moved Jared Vanderbilt more often onto Jaren Jackson. You saw some breakdowns early because it felt like there were some miscommunications in terms of the defensive schemes that they wanted to run early in that third quarter. But I thought that it opened things up a lot more for the Lakers once they decided to make that adjustment off of Vanderbilt being the point of attack defender. We shall see, though. I think the Lakers have a lot more adjustments in the toolbox to be able to get this done. I still would pick the Lakers in this series. Do you agree or disagree?
You still what?
I still would pick the Lakers in this series, even after tonight. Do you agree or disagree?
I think I would still take Memphis, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think it's a toss-up in general, so I don't dislike that. I just think that I do think that the Lakers have more adjustments they can make than Memphis, which when you also have LeBron and Anthony Davis gives me a little bit more room for thought that that's going to work out for you, I guess is how I would describe it.